It's time for local stories from across the East. Local food. Local fashion. Local businesses. This is your home for local. This is the East's Daily Download on Eastern North Carolina CW.
Good morning, Eastern North Carolina. I'm Angie Casada, news anchor with the Eastern North Carolina CW, and welcome to the special edition of East Daily Downloads Roundtable. I'm super excited because I'm joined by the one and only.
Oh, I need to say my name, Mark.
That's his name. And I just wanted to get a background of East Daily Download. It's like our new baby here at WNCT, and we're so proud of it because you guys have been doing amazing. I guess the first question I have for you, Mark, is what's the origin of East Daily Download?
Right, well, let's see. I mean, it goes back a long ways. So John Lewis, our general manager, will be happy to tell you when you have a conversation with him about this, that weekly, daily, he gets phone calls about doing a show like this on Eastern North Carolina CW or WNCT. And this origin kind of goes back to Carolina Today that was on years ago and has been off the air for a number of years, but that kind of set the tone, not just here locally, but nationally for these kind of lifestyle shows. But he said, well, how much time do you need? And I said, realistically, we don't have a title of a show, we don't have a format, we don't have anything. We got to sit down and create all this. Yeah. So about 5 weeks later, I turned in a pilot episode. There was only 3 people that worked on it: myself, Chris Edmonds, our production manager, and Ashley Turner from Let's Draw with Ashley. And we just did this rough version, and it was enough to sell the show and get people interested and have sales be able to go out and say, hey, would clients be interested in buying this? What
was the process as far as just getting your team together and that hiring process, building your team? Like, how did that even start?
Slowly. I think we posted the jobs in January 2018, and I know Anissa and Lauren are going to join us a little bit later. They both started at the end of May. It was a really slow process. I went through, I mean, my calendar was just filled with interview, and we had a couple of marketing positions open at the same time. So for like 2 months, I just did nothing but interview people. And I'd have people who say, oh, I want to be part of the show, but I don't want to do promo, or I want to, vice versa, all these different roles that we had to fill. And then right at the it all came together very quickly, probably at the very beginning of May when Anissa came in and interviewed, or it might have been the end of April. She came in and interviewed, and I remember telling her at the end of the interview, thank you for restoring my faith in this process, because it had been really hard
Exhausting
to...
too,
Well, it had been. And then Lauren was upstairs in the sales department, and she has a background in TV, and she happened to walk down one day and said, can you send me a copy of that pilot? And I was really guarded with it because we didn't want anything getting out to leak anything to anybody in the market. And I'm like, why? And she goes, well, just trust me. I'm like, she goes, I just want to see it. I'm like, okay, fine. So like 2 days later, she came down really serious and sat down in my office and said, I need to talk to you. I'm like, well, you don't work in this department. That's a weird tone to have to come down here.
I love Lauren.
And so I said, okay. And so she said, I'm interested in the job. And I'm like, what job? And she's like, the producer job. I'm like, okay, well, we kind of like set up for like an interview like the next day. And pretty much offered her the job on the spot. And well, after we actually had the official interview.
Did you know about her background?
I did. I mean, she had mentioned it once or twice. I'm looking at her right now. Yeah, I mean, we had talked about it a lot, so, because she'd worked on a CW show pilot that had been on the air, so we had talked about a lot of different things. So yeah, it was good to finally get that, wrapped up, but then, speaking of wrapping up, we're getting the wrap-up sign right now, but then we had to wrap up, the hiring and then get people in place.
Exactly. And then just from that, you guys were able to build an amazing team, and then you guys started off with those first few episodes.
Yeah. Those first few episodes. So I mean, but before we even get to that, once they got in at the end of May, we had this deadline that is, we had to put a format together. We had to figure out, I mean, we sat down with the big board, all 3 of us, just going through every different idea that we could think of, and like there was no bad ideas. It was just like write everything on the board, and then we'll start crossing things out that don't make any sense. And then it was a matter of, okay, now we got to start finding people to shoot, stories with, and trying to get news to provide some stories, getting sales to sell people.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm super excited to actually sit down and talk with Lauren and Anissa. They're actually going to be joining us in a little bit, so please stay with us because we have so much more coming up on this special edition of East Daily Download Roundtable. Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined by Mark on this beautiful special edition of East Daily Downloads Roundtable, where we're pretty much getting familiar with the behind the scenes when it comes to East Daily Download. Yeah. And I've been thinking about it, Mark, and you guys have evolved so much since the beginning. And when you look back on those first episodes, what do you think of them?
The first week's worth of shows alone took a week to shoot. We had planned for 1 8-hour day. And it was 3 hours to do the first episode, and we're like, we're probably not gonna. And now when we shoot them, we're done with the whole week's worth of shows in about 3 hours.
Wow.
So from one show being rough to 5 shows being smooth, it's it's an amazing transition.
Now, when you think about just looking at the whole process and how it started and to where you guys are now, what would you say are some of the most important moments in just the evolution of East Daily Download?
Well, one is people coming together more and the gelling of a team after a period of time, understanding more of how each other works and where we're going. But I think there's a couple of moments that I look back on as the key, the tipping points to get to where we are. One was, and oddly, and we talk a lot about John on the show, and you'll get to meet John in a little bit, the real John. We were doing a promo for the show, and John had this idea where we were trying to make it a little bit different. He said, why don't you grab the camera, we'll hold it down, and you push it up to look at you like you're directing the camera. And for some reason, something triggered in me because I've directed promos for 20 years, so I understand that side a little bit better. And I'm like, aha, it opened this floodgate in my mind that it needs to be different. We were trying so hard to be a show that we weren't. We were trying so hard to fit into a mold of a lifestyle show that people are used to. So we started having these discussions of why don't we make it more late night show in the morning, so add a comedic element to it. We started doing the national holidays. They've actually been part of the show since the very first episode, but they started playing a bigger role. And one of them, which was Talk Like a Pirate Day, which works well in this market for ECU, obviously. At the end, I had Ashley brought in this big pirate hat that she had, and I had it on, and I'm like, arg, at the camera. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. This feels good. This is more natural. This is more my personality. So being able to do that, and then I think it opened up a different area for everybody to have a different conversation of hey, why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? What if we did this? And so everybody started really kind of putting these different ideas in, and the pot started getting stirred, and it became a different flavor and a different taste. And then I think personally, maybe the most important thing that happened for me personally was I got a text message from my mom who'd watched on the app, and she said, I don't mean to make this, please take this criticism well, but you're coming off a little bit over-the-top salesman-y, because I was doing hello and welcome to the East Day, and I was really trying to play it up. And I remember telling Lauren, I said, I want to try pulling back and just being more me and not trying to be that persona. And she's like, but we kind of have that established. I'm like, well, let's just try it. Well, as soon as we did that, everything for me, everything just clicked into place. It's like, I'm not trying to be, I'm playing a character. We're all playing characters when we're on the show, like a heightened version of ourselves. But it became a little bit more like the version that I understood how to play, rather than because I'm not the big, over the top, so it's more like winking towards the camera sort of thing. And the audience is in on the joke is what we're going for. And so I think those kind of things, and like I said, really the gelling of the team and different people having different ideas really helped take it from where it started to this kind of new thing that we have that's evolving all the time still.
Now, personally for you, Mark, how does it feel just to be a part of something like this that's brand new to the WNCT station? And you know, like you said, it's something that we used to have a show similar to it years ago that a lot of people still even talk about to this day, just because of its popularity. But how does it feel to be a part of something again like this?
Right. I mean, pride is, you know, pride is the main thing, but pride in the team and the people who help put this together, because it really is a team effort. And if you take one piece out of that puzzle, it all implodes, and I really believe that. I just had the ability and the pleasure to be the one who kind of started creating the pieces of the puzzle, and then when Lauren and Anissa came in, they said, okay, what if we take that and shape it this way and do this? So, I mean, I'm proud of the show. I'm proud of the team that works on it. And, you know, I see nothing but growth going forward with it at this point.
That's awesome. And I love that you said it's all about team. And
absolutely.
Speaking of team, we're actually going to be meeting Lauren. She's going to be joining us, and I'm excited to hear what she has to say. So stay with us on this special edition of East Daily Download. Welcome back, family, to the special edition of East Daily Download, where we have the amazing Mark, and we're joined by Lauren. Lauren, you have been such a pillar in the East Daily Download and just its being with Mark. How was it getting the job and coming from sales? That's what Mark said. You came down from sales.
I did. Well, I did come down from sales. It was really from upstairs to downstairs. So I had a background in television already, and I had grown up in Eastern North Carolina for most of my life, and then I spent about 6 years out in LA.
Nice.
And I moved back, and I took some time off, kind of trying to find something that really fit. And I saw the posting for a sales position here, and it said that with that position, you would get to help produce commercials for clients. And I really did. I enjoyed my job up in sales. Don't know how great of a salesperson I am, if we're honest, but
I don't know how great.
but I was getting in the swing of things, and then this show kind of came about. One of the deciding factors on that, I got to go out with Tree, who is one of our photographers here, and we went out on a shoot, and I was like, oh wow, I really miss this. Like that was like the nail in the coffin. I was like, this is it. I really want to be doing this. Yeah. And so, like Mark said earlier, I came down and I was all serious and like, I need to talk to you. I'm like, no, I just really need to talk to you. Yeah. And he's like, whoa. And I'm like, I want this job.
So after I delayed it for 5 days, she got
yeah.
From the beginning now, looking back, how was it just starting off? I know it was a little shaky. You guys were still building your team at first, but you probably had so many ideas for the show.
We were still kind of trying to figure it all out, figure out from the pilot that Mark had done before I came on board, which, I asked to see that, and I was like, oof. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, I was like, oh man, this is really exciting. Yeah. To be on the ground level of something like this, yes. To get to come in and to be a part of the evolution from where it started to where it is now. I feel like we're just so much more interactive with the audience, with being a little bit funnier and quirkier, and kind of trying to connect with our audience a little more. Yeah. So it's been really great watching that come about.
What would you say has been probably like the biggest road bump that you guys have faced, just kind of from the beginning?
Getting stories for 22 minutes worth of programming every day is
tough.
You're dealing with it on a daily basis. It's not, especially when you have a very small staff, it's hard getting that. So we rely on the kindness of other departments.
Yeah. And I don't think that we realized how much of a process this was going to be until we really got into it. Yeah. And then it was really, in the beginning, it was Mark and I and Anissa, and I think we quickly realized it was like, oh wow, this is bigger.
This is getting real.
This is bigger than what we can, this is a lot of work for just us.
As far as your content goes, I admire it so much because you guys are in the community and you guys highlight some amazing spots. You know, one of my favorites is the Whirligig stage. Yeah. And you have the live at Whirligig, and as well as Fashion Fridays, one of my biggest favorites. So how did those come about?
Well, you know, me and Mark, and it was before anything else really got started, we had a meeting with Jason Cole down at Whirligig stage. And we all sat down, and he was so welcoming to us, and just so like, oh yeah, this is awesome, this is great, let's do it. And it really kind of started from there. And he was a huge help in getting the bands in and kind of organizing the events. And so we get to go and have shoot days there, and it's really amazing. And looking at that as well, where it started and where it is now. Yeah. Is really, that's been an evolution as well.
And how about Fashion Friday? How did that come out?
Well, I'm gonna wait and let Anissa talk about it. I know she's coming up here next, so we'll wait and let her answer that.
Absolutely. And now when it comes with East Daily Download, how big of an operation is it? How many people do you guys have on your team?
Well, initially we had 3, but then the marketing department as a whole came in to edit a different day of the show. So. Because the shows are edited in advance, so it's a lot for one person to do all of that. So we have a team of people each doing a different day, which really helps to make the creativity better and to make everybody do a more, focused show, and it really, I think, has helped everybody.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited. You mentioned Anissa. She has Fashion Friday, and you just have so many other people a part of your team that we need to highlight today. So please stay with us on this special edition of East Daily Download. We have Lauren, Mark, so many more coming up. Stay with us. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the East Daily Download special edition, where we're getting the inside scoop behind this amazing show. We're joined by the beautiful Anissa. Anissa, thanks so much for being here. We, spoke to Lauren. We got a little bit of background of how she came to be a part of the show. How was it for you, looking back? How did you get a part of East Daily Download?
So I went to school in Illinois. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I went to college at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Okay. And so from there, I was interning at a local station, WCIA out there, and I graduated, but I stayed within the company. So I was kind of promoted from internship to full-time job. I started off as a production assistant. So started from the bottom out here, working towards the different goals that I have and just creating teams and enjoying the experience. But in commercial production, I would do some work with the lifestyle entertainment show there called CI Living. And that was my favorite part of the job. Yeah. So when you notice those things, it's like you have to chase, how am I going to be, happy coming to work every day and just continuing to grow, and that was that. So I was doing that. I applied to lifestyle entertainment positions within the Nexstar database. And I found this. I knew someone who had worked here in the news department, Sam. Okay. And so I had actually told her about the position. She didn't realize. I think it was kind of under wraps that this show was being developed. And so it was. Yeah, so it was really cool to kind of, figure that out more, talking with Mark.
And since then, you've been a part of the team, and we were just speaking a little earlier about the content of the show. It's amazing, and one thing I'm a big fan of is Fashion Fridays. So how did that come to be?
Yeah, so we were just talking about different ways that we could all contribute to the show, and it originated by me just letting them know I wanted to get out in the community and just come up with different ideas to showcase Eastern North Carolina. Yeah. So it really wasn't fashion at first, but it evolved to that, and I wanted to build on Fashion Friday so that it wasn't just about appearances. Yeah. So there's a lot of different local businesses that hold events, and they benefit different organizations in the community. Mm-hmm. So it's been really cool to try to find an outlet to explore fashion, which I love. Looking nice is great. You feel good. Yes, it's not just about appearances, but also getting out of the community and telling stories.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to the show in general, anybody can answer this. Is it scripted or is it reality?
Well, I mean,
I would say it's a little bit of both.
I think the best way we can answer that, and to by all means chime in wherever here, is it's laid out in advance. So over the weekend, I will usually be going through based on what Lauren sets up. So the studio portion of the show and the external portion of the show are kind of seen as two different things. So when Anise is out doing a story or she's out doing a whirly gig or any of the stories we have outside, those are produced in a different way. Because I'm, hosting the show, I want to have a little bit more control over that. Understand? Yeah. Portion of it. So I'll kind of sit down and think things through over the weekend, and she and I will do some texting back and forth, like, hey, what if we do this and what if we do that? So when we come in on Monday, there's already a game plan kind of established. Then we bring Anise into it, and John and Bryce and anybody else that we need to be part of that studio portion of the show. Yeah. But to your point, there's a lot of times where it's like we're not sure. Perfect example, there's the ninja episode where we had it was National Ninja Day, and we're like, I got nothing.
What do we do?
And so the idea came up of like, why doesn't John jump out from behind the TV with like a thing on his face and like just run off, and I'm just standing looking at the camera and I have no idea that it's going on. So that was like a very last second. So those things do happen.
Absolutely. You guys have different dynamics that makes East Daily Download as unique as it is. What would you say is your role, or who's who in this team?
Yeah. The crazy one is Mark, for sure. He comes up with the big crazy ideas, and then me and Anissa share this look, and then we kind of like talk him down off his ledge a little bit. Sometimes we go for it and embrace the crazy. But I would say I have a spreadsheet that I put the shows together, and we've based a lot of it around national holidays as well, in terms of being the big idea person and the one that comes up with a lot of what, well, let's do this and let's try this and let's go out and shoot that. Anissa is really on top of having a ton of ideas of different ways to get out in the community and different ways to, incorporate things into the show. So
that's awesome. It makes you guys all so special. And East Daily Download is on each morning. I love it. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, because that's going to be part 2 of this special edition of East Daily Download. You're not going to want to miss it. So stay with us and please tune in tomorrow morning.